What up, Leaguers? Welcome to the Spectacular Spoiler League. I'm the Pandan Superman, the mayor of Hype City, HazyRome, and as always, I'm joined by the Gotham Knight, the Prime Minister of Post-Production, DeepBoyce. And today we're in the Hall of Spoilers to talk a little bit about The Punisher, Season 1, coming to Netflix this fall, 2017. DeepBoyce, we ranking the top 3 things we want to see from The Punisher from your man Frank Castle, introduced in Daredevil Season 2. Tell the Leaguers what it is.
Yes, sir. I mean, Frank Castle premiered in Daredevil Season 2, quickly became one of the fan favorites, got himself his own Marvel Netflix show. So I guess the first thing we're going to start off with is basically telling a story about the morality of this character. What is it that drives not just the Punisher, but how is it that he goes about his day-to-day? How does he dole out justice? What makes him different from each and every other Marvel character, not just the other Defenders, who are pretty much opposed to killing, and they have sort of their own code of honor, which involves beating up the villains, putting them in jail. But what happens when you put the Kingpin in jail? He gets right back out.
He ultimately gets out.
He gets right back out. But Punisher's not really about that. Punisher is about, I guess, using Occam's razor, just the quickest, best solution, which is putting a bullet between the two eyes of a bad guy, right in the forehead. Just ending it right there. Because I guess in his mind, the best way to end crime is to just eliminate the problem entirely. Just murder. Straight up murder. Just to kill the villain, kill the bad guy, kill the criminal, and completely rid the world of crime. I mean, that's, I guess, his sole mission, is ridding the world of crime, which is, not all that different from, say, like a character like Daredevil. But Daredevil is more akin to maybe having a bucket and trying to just catch as much water leaking from this roof as possible, while the Punisher wants to take an RPG and shoot it right at the roof and just blow up the whole thing. So
I would liken it more to, Punisher wants to just rebuild the roof entirely, like just rip the roof, right off the house and just rebuild it entirely, man. While Daredevil's trying to patch the holes, Punisher's like, yo, we need a new roof. Like,
true,
get this roof out of here.
True, but while he's patching it, while he's getting that new roof, he's mowing down some bad guys with an M16.
But the thing about the Punisher is, what you're getting at is that this dude is no nonsense when it comes to crime. And what we want to see from him is the idea that this dude has a different idea of what is justice. Mm-hmm. And he believes these criminals should die. And, to that effect, Frank Castle is not a normal guy when it comes to, the functioning of his brainwaves, man. This dude is crazy.
Yes.
For lack of a better way to say it. He's crazy.
Yeah.
And we want a window into that.
Yeah, and with this character, I mean, you have the opportunity to tell touch on different types of themes when it comes to how to save the day, how to fight the bad guy. I mean, every single superhero show and movie is about the good guy being altruistic and doing whatever they can to stop the bad guys without ever murdering anyone. But like we said, the Punisher just has a different take on life, and they can explore some themes that I guess hit a little closer to home as to, what's the efficiency of the criminal justice system? What's the efficiency of our U.S. penitentiary system? The idea of capital punishment. Does it work? Does it stop crime? Should we do it? Are we in the right? Are we in the wrong? Does it matter if what we do, if what the Punisher does is good or bad? Does morality matter, or what's important is that he just stops crime? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because someone like Daredevil does think about the morality. Someone like Daredevil, he'll beat a whole bunch of bad guys up, leave them in the hospital in comas, and then he'll go to see his priest and confess his sins because he feels bad about it, and he wonders. I mean, that was one of the central themes of Daredevil Season 2, where he thought about, should he kill the Kingpin, because he knows that the Kingpin can buy lawyers, can buy the judges, can buy politicians, and get his way out of anything. So those are definitely some, you could take it to the next level in terms of your storytelling and how, what it means to be a hero, what it means to be an anti-hero, or if Frank Castle is even a hero in the first place.
I mean, the thing about Frank Castle is that, he is out here, doing something that is against the law. Like, you are not allowed to do what you're doing. But, you can't argue with the notion that the world would maybe be a better place without some of the people that, he is essentially executing. Yeah. Now, like we said, there's laws, and laws are meant to, enforce infrastructure, because, Frank Castle, means to rid the world of these criminals. But what if everyone just started killing people that they thought were bad? Yeah. The thing about Frank Castle is he's like, well, most people think that, these people are bad, so that's it. But at the end of the day, what if it comes down to someone who you think is bad, and maybe it turns out they're not as bad as you thought they were?
Yeah.
Or maybe they're even not guilty of what you think they're guilty of. Like, has Frank Castle ever killed someone that wasn't as guilty as he thought they were? Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. And I think that's what makes him a compelling character, because he doesn't care.
Yeah,
if he thinks you're bad, you're going down.
That's one of the conflicts about the character, or I guess conflict that other people have. He doesn't have this conflict. Is who made him judge, jury, and executioner? He just kind of took it upon himself, and like you said, you can't apply that same morality and that same code of law to everyone else, because people could be wrong. I mean, he could be wrong. He could make a mistake. He could target the wrong person. And it could be a great way to deconstruct the superhero genre in the opposite way that Deadpool did, where Deadpool did a parody of it.
Right.
Punisher can just look at, how realistic is it to put on a costume and go beat up bad guys as a vigilante and then just kind of throw them in jail. Like, it's not that simple and clean. It's not that simple, not that clean cut of a process. And Punisher has the opportunity to really show how messy it can be.
Well, that being said, we've talked about kind of like that gray area. You know what I mean? The idea of the Punisher maybe having some type of point here and doing what he does. But let's get into some of the other themes that we want Marvel to tackle with the Punisher season 1, man. Like, these are darker themes that I think we can identify as definitively negative things, Yeah. I mean, for example, like, war crimes, like the Punisher is a veteran. He is someone who's experienced, traumatic experience in Afghanistan and Iraq in this version. In the comics, Vietnam was the war that he fought in. And in some stories, that's where the Punisher, personality was even crafted. So, this man, has experienced, corrupt people in the military. He also has, PTSD, which is another symptom of him being in the military, where, this guy he's still at war. Yeah. And this is a story that a lot of veterans have in coming back from whatever, conflict that they've served under. And that is coming back home and still feeling like you're still at war. Yeah. So, like, what are the dark themes do we want, like, Marvel and Disney? Because remember, this is Disney. Like, Punisher, I don't know if Disney has ever had a character as dark as the Punisher. I don't think that's ever... I can't think of one villain that is as dark as... Maybe Darth Vader, maybe, like, Anakin Skywalker now, essentially. I mean, the thing is, Disney wasn't, didn't create Darth Vader or create Anakin Skywalker, you know what I mean? They now own his rights, but they didn't create him. But this is a character, and they didn't create, the Punisher either. But they are allowing Marvel to create this show under their purview. Yeah. So this is a little bit different. So what other themes do you want to see from the Punisher in season 1?
Yeah, I mean, they could approach topics of, like, human trafficking, for example, which is a very difficult topic, a very true to life topic, unfortunately. And but it's true to the comics. True to the comics. If you look at, like, the Punisher Max series, which is probably the darkest that has ever gone when it comes to the Punisher in comics.
That's saying something, because this dude is crazy. Yes. Like, comics, sometimes there are times where I've been reading comics and even I cringe a little bit, even though it's all drawn by somebody.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is human trafficking is something that has sort of been alluded, at least I'd say, in Daredevil. But again, I mean, it's usually just like a one sentence thing, or it's like alluded or implied. But to have the Punisher really deal with, the kind of scum that deal in those kinds of things, and also show the effects of what that has, of what that does to the people that are either abducted or who lost family members.
And even how they see the Punisher for saving that family member, because once again, this goes back into that, that first point we brought up of that morally gray area where, if let's say, for example, let's hit closer to home here. Like, I've got sisters, you've got, a mother and a significant other. Mm-hmm. What if they were victims of this situation and the Punisher killed the people that held your loved ones, captive? How would you feel about the Punisher? You would probably look at him like, this dude, I'm thankful to this dude.
I mean, hey, they could, you could explore what this means for the families of the criminals that get killed by the Punisher. Or you could have an instance where the Punisher saves someone's loved one, but that person ends up committing a crime. The Punisher's like, well, this is what I did. I'm going to have to kill you. I saved your loved one, but you committed a crime, and I have to take you out.
That would be crazy. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, and again, in terms of the human trafficking, it harkens back to this storyline called Widowmaker, the Punisher Max series, where the wives of all the mob bosses he's killed, they've like banded together to start their own criminal enterprise where they were buying and selling people and stuff like that. And it's an effect of, I guess, violence begetting even more violence, which is something that they should maybe also approach with the Punisher, because it may seem effective to some people from us, watching, because we see so many heroes not take out and kill their villains.
They don't go to the root of the problem, so to speak.
Yeah, but you have to show both sides of the coin. If you do go to the root of the problem and you do take out the kingpins, that could create chaos in the streets. That could create, someone even more violent that comes in. The Punisher
could create a power vacuum.
Yeah, absolutely. And and I think it's important that, or this is something that I personally would like to see, they should maybe stray away from making the Punisher a sympathetic figure. I mean, we know that his family was murdered, unfortunately, by the mob, but Frank Castle is unequivocally crazy. He's not a good person. Even though he goes after bad guys, he goes on killing sprees, and as we saw in Daredevil season 2, he killed politicians. He killed a judge, I believe it was.
Yeah, and even in Daredevil season 2, you did kind of see that theme of people saying, "Yo, this guy is ridding the streets." He's, regardless of his methods, they did bring up the point that this guy is incredibly effective at rooting out these criminals.
While you may be thankful if the Punisher saves a loved one of yours, will you be so thankful if there are constant shootouts in your neighborhood because the Punisher is going around just shooting everything up?
True. I mean, just to kind of touch on more on that. I mean, you brought up early in the conversation the themes of crime and punishment. I mean, that is essential to that, that idea. Like, this guy is, creating an unsafe situation for the people that, are inevitably around. Now, I feel like the comics sometimes write it in a way, sometimes, not all the time, write it in a way where the Punisher is incredibly crafty and manages to save, the people that are in immediate danger and things like that. But at the end of the day, it is not, this is a gritty, grounded story. And I think that the idea of the Punisher can't be ignored, because let's be honest, we don't want to sit here and say like the Punisher is doing a good deed. Like you said, we do not want to paint this in a good light. The Punisher is a bad guy.
He shows the bad aspects of vigilantism.
Right. We kind of brought up, Daredevil season 2 and how, Daredevil, basically fleshed out the Frank Castle character and extended the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the Marvel Netflix universe in order to allow Frank Castle to have his own show. What do we want to see from Frank Castle and the Punisher and fleshing out this Marvel Netflix universe? We know Karen Page from Daredevil is going to be in there. So, what else do we want to see happen in the Punisher that'll, create some extensions, some extra webs for the Marvel Netflix universe to kind of grow itself?
Yeah, like you mentioned, I mean, Karen Page, who's from the Daredevil Marvel series, is also going to be in the Punisher to some capacity, which, if these shows use some of those side characters like what's her name, Hogarth, who was from Jessica Jones, if they use Karen Page or Night Nurse, I'm blanking on her name.
Claire Temple, who technically isn't the Night Nurse character, but they've been using her like Night Nurse. It's kind of complex. Yeah. It's kind of complex.
This allows to kind of flesh out and the Marvel Netflix, I guess, universe and allow it to kind of become much more interesting and stand out on its own because, you know, when we've talked about Marvel Netflix shows, we've mentioned a couple times how they really stay away, where it's almost like they mention certain things that happen in the movies, but they don't outright mention them. They call it, say, what happened in Avengers 1, the incident. And after, you know, they keep mentioning it so many times that I feel that it hurts the shows and it takes away from the shows as opposed to actually add to the shows because it just kind of gives it this lesser quality. It's almost like it takes you out of what you're watching and reminds you that, oh, this has a lower budget and they're like not allowed to do certain things because they're not the movies. So if they kind of strayed away from that and they kind of worked with what they have, which is a lot, there's a lot of characters they've already introduced, a lot of things that they could do with these characters. So they could, you know, and the Punisher is the perfect example of that. I mean, Punisher was introduced in Daredevil season 2 as a recurring character. And I don't know if it was the plan all along or they saw the positive reception, but they went ahead and they gave that character his own storyline. So in Punisher season 1, they could introduce a character, let's say like Bullseye, who's a Daredevil villain. And they could introduce him in the Punisher and give him a little bit of backstory. So when you do throw him into Daredevil season 3, you could just get right into the story. We're already familiar with that character.
And introducing Bullseye to the Daredevil series has actually been a rumor that's been permeating throughout the MCU. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but Jason Statham was in talks to be Bullseye in Daredevil, and he got tight because it leaked that he was in talks, and he just like, I don't know, he got upset about the process. He felt like, you know, information was leaking, and that angered him, which I don't understand, but hey, you know.
He missed out on some money there. But
agree. He missed out on money and a cool opportunity, to be frank. To be frank, Catherine. But
I mean, he would have worked great in that role, to be honest with you, I think.
Oh, he would have been a fantastic Bullseye. There's no doubt about that.
But if they can make Colin Farrell go bald, then maybe they could find somebody else.
No mas Colin Farrell, man, Bullseye, please. Please.
But yeah, you know, they could introduce that character. There are a lot of characters that kind of cross in between the storylines of Punisher, Daredevil, Luke Cage. I mean, even some like very minor characters. Marvel is pretty good at taking characters you probably only heard about once or maybe never and then doing something with them. So they could have a villain or a character that will be in Luke Cage season 2 and they introduce them in the Punisher. More importantly, or more notably, as of late, there are rumors that a new character, like a new major character, is going to be introduced in the first season of The Punisher. We don't know any information yet, but some people speculate it might be Moon Knight, Mark Spector, which is, you know, one of my favorite characters and a character that people have requested to have something in. And
he also has a background with the military as well, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
Yeah, he used to be a mercenary, or like he used to work for a private military contractor, and he was in Egypt at the time or North Africa.
I mean, you could easily make him, you know, someone who Frank Castle encountered in his past, without a doubt.
Absolutely, it would work in perfectly. And you know, they're kind of similar. While he's not as ruthless, Moon Knight is not afraid to take somebody out.
Sure.
So
he also has a lot of psychological issues himself.
Yes, sir.
You know, including multiple personality disorder, potential hallucinations and delusions. You know, I mean, he may even have some psychosis. You know, and it's never been confirmed or denied whether or not he indeed does have these diagnoses, but you know, the option is there. The option is there.
Absolutely.
I'd personally love to see Moon Knight. That would be freaking fantastic.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
And I believe there was also I guess not a casting call. I guess you'd call it a casting call, right? It was this was actually for Daredevil season 3. There was a casting call, and people speculate it's a character named Sin Eater, but you never know if that character might also appear in The Punisher, which again could allow more time with that character, flesh him out a little bit more, and then bam, you're ready to go and put him into Daredevil. And you know, using these like supporting characters and these side characters frees them up to not have to worry about the overall plot, you know, because as we've seen with, let's say, like the Defenders and Iron Fist, they were really trying to like wrap things up. They were kind of moving at a bit of a breakneck pace and trying to tie everything together, and it didn't quite work as well as we would all have wanted. So if they allow these stories to really kind of exist on their own, it's all for the better, to be quite honest with you. And I think now that we're done with Defenders, the Punisher, Daredevil season 3, the second seasons of Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Iron Fist will work out a little bit better, just kind of, I guess, unencumbered.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it'll be great to see where these shows, kind of come back to. And, with the idea of the Defenders being over, essentially, that's the equivalent of phase 1 of the Marvel Netflix universe being over. And, the Punisher has the potential to kind of kickstart the new session, or the phase 2 session of the Marvel Netflix universe. So, all the things we talked about would be amazing to see, especially, the debut of some new characters, not just heroes, because I feel like that's what we often focus on when we want new characters, but also villains too. And I think that's a great idea. But that being said, guys, we're getting out of Hall of Spoilers. Let us know what you want to see from Punisher Season 1 coming November 2017, guys. We're out of the Hall of Spoilers. We're gonna go get ourselves some lawyers, man, and see if we can prosecute Frank Castle. Get this crazy man off the streets. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace.